Does exercise order matter when creating a training session? Ordering exercises is more about ordering the qualities trained in that session, be it speed, power, strength, etc. We will be discussing how to set up a training session based on whichever qualities you're training during that session. Our 6 training qualities in the order you want to train them are speed, power, strength, hypertrophy/accessories, conditioning, and flexibility. Now, it's very important to understand you're not doing all of these in one session. You might do a day focused more on speed, power, and strength, and then some flexibility at the end. Or another day that goes strength, hypertrophy, and conditioning. You just go in the order provided and skip over anything that isn't being targeted that day. Now, this will be discussed in more detail as we progress through our Creating a Program series. So why is the order important and why this particular order? These are ordered based on the nervous system and muscular activation needed to perform each quality. We want to start our training with the highest nervous system activation qualities, followed by muscular damage, followed by low force producing activities. This allows us to get the most out of each quality while minimally impacting the qualities that come after it. Let's cover some examples in each category and then dive deeper into how each one of these qualities impacts the ones after it and what it would look like to not use this order. Speed training is any unresisted sprinting or jumping, so no weighted jumps or hill sprints, for example. These are the fastest movements we can produce. Power training exercises are still very fast, but are slowed down by some load. Examples might be low incline hill sprints, squat jumps, medicine ball throws, or moderately heavy Olympic lifts. Strength training exercises allow you to produce the most force possible using the most muscle mass possible. Squats, bench, deadlifts, pull-ups, and other stable compound movements. Hypertrophy and accessory lifts are big compound lifts done for higher reps, like in the 8 to 12 rep range, or smaller accessory type lifts and isolation exercises. Things like bench pressing for sets of 12 instead of heavier sets of 3 to 5, along with things like bicep curls, leg curls, direct core work, etc. Conditioning is going to be any sort of swimming, biking, running, or circuit training where the aim is not speed or force production, but longer bouts of maintained submaximal training. More intense conditioning goes here as well, like repeated hard runs where fatigue builds quickly and is therefore not speed training. Flexibility is going to be any direct static stretching. More dynamic movements and mobility drills could easily go first in the warm-up or even in some instances be loaded and end up in the accessory lifting portion. We start with speed training because it is the most dependent on the nervous system. Speed training requires you to be as fresh as possible. This means short, intense sprints or jumping sessions with long rests between sets and reps. If you are fatigued and your speed drops below 90 to 95% of your absolute best, you are no longer speed training. Power training is going to be next up on the list, requiring tremendous nervous system output. However, it is a little slower and more dependent on muscle mass. This will come with more muscular fatigue that, if done first, would hamper speed work. However, the speed training doesn't impact power training nearly as much. The slower speeds means our nervous system doesn't need to fire quite so rapidly. Strength work also requires a high degree of nervous system activation, but is even more dependent on the muscular system. The muscle damage caused here is far more intense than the first two and would really negatively impact speed training if done first. Imagine doing 5 40-yard sprints with 3 minutes rest and then doing a heavy squat session versus doing a heavy 5 sets of 5 in the squat and then going to sprint. Your legs would pretty much be fine in the first situation and probably feel like jelly and even very uncoordinated if squatting came first. Hypertrophy training and other small accessory exercises don't require near as much total nervous system activation, yet can tire the muscles out quite a bit, which would negatively impact the first 3 qualities. You need to summon quite a bit of nervous system juice to do a heavy squat workout, but not so much to do a set of 12 in the leg curl. These exercises and rep ranges are often also less specific to most athletes who need speed, power, and strength much more frequently. If you were short on time, some sprints, squats, bench press, and pull-ups would do just fine in improving your athletic performance, where things like leg curls, rotator cuff work, or even higher rep training plays a more supportive role. This means we don't want these less important qualities taking energy away from more important ones. Conditioning comes next because it doesn't rely on high speeds or muscular forces. Especially in the context of sport training, conditioning is really just preparing your body to execute when tired. Having your muscles be pre-fatigued before starting isn't much different than just being part of the conditioning training. Imagine doing 30 minutes of conditioning and then being told you have to sprint maximally or do heavy squats. Your performance is going to take a big hit in the high speed and force qualities if done after conditioning. Flexibility, especially static stretching, comes last because it has been shown to decrease force production in close proximity. That means that stretching before you sprint or lift heavy is likely going to decrease your performance. It also can be done when fatigued and serves as a nice cooldown after a hard training session. Now, there could be some exceptions to this, but you better have a good reason. An example might be something like an endurance athlete, a cross-country runner, doing their runs before strength training. However, for the most part, if something is less important, you just spend less time on it. For example, a really fast athlete might need to improve their strength for a sport like football. This doesn't mean that they should squat before sprinting, just that less overall training time would be directed at speed work and some more to improving strength. If the athlete had 2 lower body sessions throughout the week, it might manifest itself as 1 day of sprint work and both days a major strength exercise, say for both squats and hinges, like back squats and RDLs. Or a slower, strong athlete might do some sprints and jumps both days and only 1 strength exercise for each lower body day. Over time, things like exercise order plays a big role in how good you can get. This is one piece in building a training program. The next videos in this series will be on organizing a full training week, depending on how many weekly sessions you can do, from 2 through 5. I will be covering every aspect of building a training program, from choosing exercises, aggression, making adjustments, and much more. The session might be ordered properly, but you still have to do things like make sure things are being progressed reasonably well and adjusted over the training year and training career to continue eliciting a response. If you follow this order, but have the athlete do too little, too much, or just don't progress week to week and month to month appropriately, results will still slow down and eventually stop altogether. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any videos on improving sport performance.